panelist's name, not under an agent name. And I would love to have you introduce everybody here. So take a quick second and do that. And if we can do that next minute or so, we'll get launched. And I'll be back with you soon, everybody. Gladly represent J.R. Vaughn, American Health Insurance Benefits, to talk about a great new guaranteed issue plan. J.R. hopes to be able to join me soon. But we're going to go ahead and launch out anyway and have a great time and teach you about a fantastic product this morning. I have J.R.'s website. I wish you'd write that down as you see it there in the home page, ppisales.info/CULAHIB for American Health and Insurance Benefits. You'll see their phone number and their fax number there. And we'll be referring to that website throughout the day. And this will be a recorded webinar, so if I'm going too fast, as I sometimes do, you'll be able to listen to it later on from that website. And we'll repost the current version with this new version we're doing today, which has a lot of important new information that will help you sell. So I'm so glad you're here. Hopefully my friend Mike Binky will join me at some time this morning if he's able to. We're having, for some reason, a few technical issues, but we'll be fine either way. We'll have a good time, make it worth your while. Let me go ahead and start by telling you our heart and desire as you sell health insurance. We know it's tough out there and that agents have had a difficult time because of the changes in the rules and regulations, the changes of commissions. And I hear a voice. Is that JR's voice I hear? Okay.
I don't hear a voice.
Hey, there's Mike's voice. How you doing, buddy? You're not hearing
Good.
You're not hearing
I'm still listening to JR, though. I don't know where he's at.
Sometimes I do hear voices, but that's a different story for a different Sunday morning. And Mike Binky, the designer and creator of the plan, is with us. Thank you for joining us, Mike.
Hello. It's my pleasure.
And that's JR. How you doing, JR? Is that you, my friend? Well, we maybe had him for a second. It was nice while it lasted, JR. If you can get back on, let us know, buddy. But while we're getting all that ironed out and launching anyway, our desire is that you sell the person the best plan, the most appropriate plan for them. And if a person can qualify for and afford a comprehensive major medical plan, that's exactly what you should sell them. Do not pull ours out as a primary coverage plan if they can afford and qualify for a major medical. That being said, if you're not selling some version of our plan with every sale you make, even if you make a major medical sale, you've not done right by the client, because we're going to show you and prove to you why one of our 4 products is best to sell every time, even if it isn't the primary product. So that being said, let's move forward and talk about our value proposition. Well, what our job is to prove to you today with empirical evidence, not just our opinion, is that this plan, our Central United Life plan, has the best benefits of any guarantee issue plan in the marketplace, the best price, the most secure policy. We'll flesh out what that means later, that we pay fantastic commissions, and I believe because of the first 3 points, benefits, price, and security over time because of persistency, you'll make more money in our deal than you will the others. I think that you'll also enjoy, if you qualify with the reasonable credit and all that, for the 6-month advance, that you'll enjoy the cash flow. And we've got some great incentive trips. In fact, a new one that we're announcing imminently that you'll find is the easiest one you've ever qualified for. You know, Mike, essentially, a person could write one of our platinum products every 2 weeks and make our incentive trip if they start June 1st. So it's easy to make. Here are some tools that we're going to be sharing with you today to help you sell. We're going to show you about our online applications. We're going to give you some great comparison charts because sometimes when you're selling these plans, you're in competition with other GI, guaranteed issue plans. We're going to provide easy access to all the tools, documents, applications, everything you need, as well as training. We have group sales capacity so that you can use this product in a group environment. So instead of just selling face-to-face, one-on-one, you can sell large masses at the same time. We've got 4 different kinds of plans to suit whatever needs your client has, including a wonderful HSA supplement plan, whether you have an HSA or not, which should be sold about every time you ever sell any kind of health plan. Let's build capacity as long as you have 3 applicants from one company. And then you have other fantastic non-first choice products that are indeed by Central United Life, but aren't the part of the guarantee issue package that you can combo sell with the first choice guarantee issue plan, like our cancer plan, our disability, income, critical illness, accident, life. And I know many are thinking, well, that's great, I already have 4 of those. Yeah, but when you can do an online app and write 2 or 3 of these other ancillary plans at the same time, it makes it so much easier. And so you'll have the capacity to do that as well, and you'll be able to see that today. Mike Binky, tell us where the company and the product came from, if you would.
Well, that's 2 different questions. The company started back in 1982. David Harris acquired his first block of business. Since then, they've accumulated over 100 different companies and company blocks. Very well respected in the acquisitions community, and with our product and others also do a fine job with new business growth as well. Now the product, the roots of the product started 25 years ago in Jacksonville, Florida with the Professional Insurance Corporation, known as PIC. They had an underwriting and actuary laden team that got together and designed these benefits and priced them, and they have not changed since. We've used them now with 4 different companies. Each one had a guaranteed renewal policy. They've never raised a rate. They've never canceled a plan, never failed to pay a claim. So we have what I like to call the oldest brand new plan in the history of the industry.
Well, Mike, when we see the benefits and the pricing, it's natural, and because we have a lot of experienced agents, I can tell by looking at the names and the list today, it's natural for experienced agents to say, well, that's great. You are hot. I mean, your plan is fantastic. Your prices are great. So how long until it blows up? A year, 2 years?
I don't know. I can't say. So far it's been 41 years. I'm thinking we've got a little life left in us.
Yeah. So what we're doing, we're not lowballing the rates to buy your business. This is a stable environment that we hope will be around for decades, not months. So we're very excited about that. Here are the states we're currently in, these 27 states, and we hope to have more later by the time some folks watch this on J.R. Vaughn's site, the ppisales.info/CULAHIV. Hope there might be another state or 2 added. We'd love to add 5 or 10 states to this list as the year goes on. But this is a great place to start, and a lot of great states that we're excited to be marketing in, some of them brand new. If you missed the link, when we come back to the website, you'll see all these states in application form, so don't worry if you're not able to keep up with the note-taking at this point. There's only one rule we have, Mike, and that is this: the person must work 30 hours a week, making at least minimum wage, do a good enough job to get invited back the next week. That's the only rule we have. Whether you're self-employed, whether you're a 1099 or a W-2 employee, whether you work out of your home or office, the back of your truck, really doesn't matter, as long as you authentically work and authentically tell that to the IRS and make your tax payments every year so that you can prove it. We don't ask for proof. We don't ask for pay stubs. But certainly you can imagine if one of your clients had a heart attack in 6 months, that the company's going to go back and make sure they cleared the first hurdle, the only hurdle, which was at the time of application and issue where you're working 30 hours a week. If you clear that hurdle, you're in good shape. Now, that's only the primary insured, so if you have a family or a couple or a parent and children plan, only the primary insured has to meet that qualification. If you have a client who's on Medicare AB disability under age 65, even if they work 50 hours a week as plumbing or computer teching or painting, doesn't matter. They don't claim that money, so they don't work. So be sure to help us protect it. That's the only rule we have. And JR has other wonderful plans for those folks who don't work. Now, they'll cost more, and they'll have fewer benefits, but that's okay. If it's the right plan for your 62-year-old retiree who doesn't work anymore, or your hardworking mom with 3 kids who stays at home and doesn't get paid even though she works harder than you and I do combined, use one of JR's other good plans for those people. Now, Mike, once this is issued, it's theirs to keep. Talk to us about what that means, Mike.
Well, they can keep it guaranteed to age 65. It's a guaranteed renewable policy. We'll flesh out the value of that as compared to certs later on today. There are agents who are sitting here right now listening, well, what's he talking about? What is a cert? Think that they've been selling policies, perhaps never sold a policy in their life. But they can they're guaranteed to keep our plan to age 65. And it's conditionally renewable to age 70 and a half. And the only condition is the qualification condition, if they're still working 30 hours a week. So if they're still working at 65, they can keep the plan up to the policy anniversary after their 70th birthday.
Now, like the page says, it's not necessary to maintain full-time status if you're under 65 or up to the first anniversary date of your 65th birthday. So if you buy the policy and retire, quit, get laid off, win the lottery, that's fine. Up to the first renewal date after your 65th birthday, there is no work requirement. As long as you work at time of application issue, you hold the policy for as long as you keep paying for it. At that point after your 65th birthday when we renew, you could keep it through age 70 if you continue to work through age 70. So this is unique. You know, let's just take a second now, Mike, and flesh this out somewhat, because other agents were kind of puzzled by our pushing of this concept, guaranteed renewable policy. Even though some of the guys here have sold hundreds and maybe even thousands of, quote, health policies, the fact is they may never have sold one health policy. What they likely sold was a certificate issued of a group master policy. Why is that different than what we do, Mike?
Well, we have guaranteed renewable plans, which means if you buy it, the only way that it'll be taken from you is if you don't pay the premium or you request that it be canceled. A certificate is an agreement based upon a group master policy, liken the group master policy unto a big, pretty Christmas tree. And the certs are the little ornaments that are just all over the tree. If the Christmas tree were to just vanish, what would happen to the ornaments? Well, there'd be nothing to hold them up. They'd fall to the ground and crash. That's exactly what happens to certificates when the group master policy goes away. And if there's any sort of falling out between the policyholder or the company, it's not uncommon for them to give 90 days notice, and the coverage is gone.
Yeah, by state law, 90 or 180 days notice, and the company can pull out the state, and they'll take a penalty for it, but they can do that. And Aetna just did in Alabama this year. So even major companies, I mean, what you're writing, if you're writing health, and we don't criticize you, we want you to keep writing major medical plans, but you're writing all certificates, whether you write Assurant, Golden Rule, United Health, Humana, whoever, World, American Public, all wonderful, fine companies, but they don't issue policies anymore. This one is a policy. It can't be taken from you. The company has to commit hara-kiri for it to cancel out. Now, we have one condition after the policy is issued, and it's a pre-ex for 12 months, a 12-month look-back. Give us a little understanding of what that means, Mike.
It's so simple it gets confusing. If the client has been treated for a condition in the prior 12 months, we're not going to cover that condition only or conditions for 12 months after the effective date of the policy. If they had a heart attack 18 months ago and they take a beta blocker, every time they take a prescription pill, that's treatment. So they've been treated within the last 12 months. We'll cover the heart after 12 months from the effective date, issue date of the policy. Now, if they're treating it with diet and exercise and all they're taking is an aspirin, that's not a prescription med, so that's not treatment. So they would actually have first day coverage with their heart.
So as long as you work, the policy is issued. The worst case would be a temporary pre-existing limitation, not a permanent right or requires a doctor's note, just a temporary 12-month pre-ex on those specific things for which you've had treatment, medication, symptoms that an ordinarily prudent person would have pursued, doctor visits. Barring that, coverage day one of the effective date, and regardless of your job, regardless of your health, it's going to be issued. So that's good news. Now, our plan is different. It's not a mini-med. It's a defined benefit plan. So we tell you exactly what we pay in every form of coverage. Don't ask, does it cover so-and-so? Look at the schedule. It'll tell you if it covers it. If it doesn't tell you it covers it, guess what? It doesn't cover it. There's no mystery here. It's all very simple, laid out in black and white. You'll know before the event what we pay for everything the doctor bills you for. If it's covered by the policy, we tell you exactly how much it pays. For example,
Clay, it's important that we stress something here. There is one clarification that we need to make. Many companies say exactly that. If it's not listed, it's not covered. There are surgical procedures that are not specifically mentioned in our surgery schedule because the policy would be 4 inches thick if everything was put in there. But what we do is we have a medical director who determines the severity of the condition. If it's medically necessary, I mean, if it's a tummy tuck or nose job, then all bets are off. But if it's a legitimate medical procedure, medically necessary procedure that just happens to not be listed in our policy, we will pay the benefit for the most comparable one that is listed. Some companies drop you on your head. We just recognize that we can't list them all. But for the most part, the defined benefit plan says, here's what we're going to do, and then we do it. Just want to clarify.
So in the case of our Platinum plan, which we'll look at in just a moment, we pay $100 for a doctor visit. No copay, no deductible. We just pay $100. If a person goes and the doctor only charges them $70, we're going to pay $100. If the doctor charges $170, we're going to pay $100. So you know up front in advance what we're going to pay, and there's no mystery about it. And you can assign that benefit to the doctor and lose $30 if you wish, or you can pay it yourself and let's reimburse you more than he actually charged. That's great. We don't care. You can do it whatever way is best for you, but we pay a defined amount. Now, when you look at guaranteed issued or any other kind of limited plan, such as some of the competitors who actually have underwriting, what you need to really be concerned about are the 4 most significant components. Now, we are equal to or better than our competition in 8 separate categories, but especially including the 4 most important ones, and those are these. What does it pay when I go to the hospital per day in the room? What does it pay for intensive care? Surgical benefit, and anesthesiology. And we contend, and we're going to show you some evidence in a moment, that ours is better in all 4 of those categories. You see, when you sell a plan, it isn't just about price. It isn't just about association benefits. It really is about how much they pay in a hospital and surgical environment. If a plan were $50 cheaper than ours, but paid a third as much benefits, maybe they should pay a little more and get better coverage. If a plan's $100 better than ours and has all kinds of flowery things that really don't matter much, it doesn't help when they go to the hospital. So while x-rays and labs are important, and doctor visits are important, and physicals are important, and discount drug cards are important, that isn't what makes the difference to your client at their time of greatest need. What makes the difference is how much does it pay in the hospital. Everything else is garnish. That's the steak and potatoes. And if you do a measly job of providing a small portion of steak and potatoes, the cowboy goes away hungry, and no one's happy. So you're going to like how we compete in that marketplace. So we're going to look at the 4 primary plans. We're going to look at the website, some comparison grids, the application, the claims illustration, and we're going to end with the brochure. Now, we do that because we like you to sell differently than pulling out the brochure and walking through it. There's some things you need to know and the client needs to know before you pull the brochure out. So we're going to do what may seem to you as backward. So stay to the end because you want to see how we put together our explanation of the brochure so that your client understands exactly what they're buying, and they don't call you back and say, this is not what you sold me. We want to make sure that you understand that very clearly, and that so do they. So with that, I'm going to pull up JR's website. This is the one we've referred to throughout the morning, the ppsales.info/CULAHIB. And again, if you missed that, we'll pull it up on the screen a little later on. When you go to the site, here's what you'll see. If you haven't done contracting, on the left-hand side, you'll find a place to print off contracting and who to send it to, whether you want to fax it or email it or mail it. It's all there. In the center, we're going to spend some time this morning or this afternoon, whenever you happen to be listening, as you listen to a recording, many of you, we're going to look at all the tools. And then we have other CUL, and these tools, I should say, the first category is for the first choice guaranteed issue plan. Below that are other Central United Life products. And then below that is the PPO tool that we use to sell with. On the right-hand side is this recorded class. And we're going to revise the old version with today's class and replace it there by the end of business today. Also, what we won't have time to go into very much, but to show you how to get started, is a CUL online enrollment training, how to use the ACE online application, and then obviously frequently asked questions. Now, let's take a look at the tools and brochures and applications, and I'm going to pull up some specific things that we'll spend our time on today. You'll find the CUL brochure on the left and a non-first choice accident and cancer brochure. Those two are not guaranteed issue, but they will appear later on the application, so I wanted to make those very accessible to you. We have a chart that shows all four plans side by side, then each plan independently, some comparison grids, our surgical schedule and other plan riders, information about the home office website on the left-hand side. To sign up for online enrollment, you click the middle section there. It'll print off a form, and if you have an agent writing number already, you have to have that first. You can submit that and be included in the online ACE enrollment process. Then you have each state's application in case you want to print out a paper app. It's all there. On the right-hand side, again, frequently asked questions, some claims illustrations, which we're going to look at later, and then which product do I sell to which kind of client? A wonderful little short piece about explaining what might fit each client best, because you have different kinds of clients. Some information about comparing our surgical schedule versus the Medicare reimbursement model, a refined view of health insurance sales opportunity in the age of healthcare reform, and you'll be glad to hear we are reform proof. We're going to excel and exceed and continue on whether it's all repealed or whether it goes into force. Either way, we're in good shape. And then last year's cruise contest, which ends next week, we'll be posting a new one hopefully next week that will start June 1st. So for sake of speed, instead of opening up those documents, I'm going to go to mine real quickly and pull out the ones we want to use this morning. So give me a quick second. I'll pull those up, and then we'll crank it out. Now I'm going to diminish this while I open a few more pages, and you can take a quick look at that. And I'll set that aside. Okay, the plan we want to look at first is our Platinum plan. This is one that's sold probably about 2/3 of the time. It's our primary, deepest, richest coverage from Central United Life, our first choice guaranteed issue products. Now, I said a moment ago that the meat and potatoes of selling guaranteed issue products is what it does for me each day in the hospital for intensive care, for surgery, and anesthesiology. What you're looking at here is the deepest, richest guarantee issue package in the nation. Mike, I know that it looks like the first week of health care in the hospital is kind of front-loaded. It seems like it has really, really deep benefits the first 6 days. Is there a reason for that? I may have lost Michael, but that's okay. We'll be fine. The statistical abstract of the United States indicates that a person 35 to 65 will spend, when they go to the hospital, an average of 4.8 days. So we front-loaded our plan so that days 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we pay $2,500. Day 2, we pay $1,500. So we front-loaded our benefits dramatically to tilt toward the first week. However, thereafter, we're the only plan that we're aware of, and we've studied about 12 or 15 national plans that pays $500 a day for the entire year. So we have both longevity, but as well as compact, rich daily benefits for that first week. In addition, and by the way, some plans don't pay intensive care in addition. You need to see that specifically to be sure, because sometimes it's either or and not both and. Ours is both and. We both pay daily room and intensive care, and you need to not assume that unless you see it in print with the competition. But in addition to our daily room, we'll pay $2,000 a day up to 20 days. Now, what that means is if I had a car wreck, it's going to pay $2,500 day one plus $2,000 for intensive care. There's actually other benefits that will go along with that will actually raise it another $450, but that's getting on page 3 when I'm only on page 1 now. So $4,500 just for the daily room and the intensive care day 1. Day 2 is $1,500 plus $2,000. Days 3 through 6, it pays $2,500 plus $2,000 for $4,500. Then days 7 through 20, it's going to pay $2,500, $500 a day for the daily room and $2,000 a day for days 7 to 20. So $2,500 a day those days in intensive care. That is the deepest, richest benefit you will find in the guarantee issue chassis. Now, there are also some limited benefit plans whose daily room and intensive care benefit we exceed. Look at yours, compare, and realize that ours has no questions that would cause a decline. Ours is not a certificate which can have rate changes anytime they want to. They're filed individually in 27 states, and each state they must go through and ask for a rate change and justify it mathematically. They can't just at whim change your rates. The third component is that surgical schedule. Now, ours, we have discovered by a lot of research, is the deepest overall surgical schedule in the guaranteed issue industry. Maybe you've seen some other plans that have a $10,000 stated surgical schedule, and they do. They may have a benefit or 2 or 3 that they actually pay $10,000 for. But when you consider the entire scope of the surgeries they cover over the course of all their surgical procedures, you'll discover that we cover more. There are a couple of recent competitors that have added very admirable surgical schedules, and I'm pleased because we can't sell everybody, but still, even those very strong competitors don't cover as deep and as richly across the board as we do. Now, frankly, the opposite is also very true. We have some that literally pay a third, a fourth, even in some cases a tenth of what we pay. In fact, sometimes some of the more expensive plans, as you'll see when you look at the comparison chart, pay a fraction of what we pay. The anesthesiology is 25% of the surgeon, so if we give the surgeon $1, we give the anesthesiologist 25 cents. If we give the surgeon $1,000, we give the anesthesiologist $250. We give the surgeon $10,000, we're giving the anesthesiologist 25%. Now, we're going to, in a moment, talk about how that relates to the Medicare reimbursement model and go into some depth about that, and you will like how we compare. Now, wellness and maternity, you won't actually see on our brochure. Here's why. Wellness and maternity are actually covered inside the surgical schedule, and the brochure doesn't even make mention of it. It's there, as are many other benefits that we don't list and talk about, but they're not listed on the brochure, so we wanted to point them out to you here. And yes, you're right, the benefits are tilted toward the ladies, and that's okay, but it's the best wellness benefit that we've seen for women in the industry. While some may cover men and women, but they may only cover $100 to $150 a year, we'll pay up to $500 for a woman who qualifies and needs a mammogram or pap smear, which is a wonderful benefit. Likewise, maternity is just part of our surgical schedule. We pay one value, whether it's a normal delivery, and a greater value if it's a cesarean. And of course, in addition to that, our daily rooms, days in the hospital. And at the end, I'm going to show you a claims example of what that would look like and show you what a stay in the hospital would pay for your client. Now, this big X in the middle, what's that all about? X-rays and labs. Clay, what's wrong with your Mickey Mouse company? It doesn't cover X-rays and labs. Well, hold on. Because of the lack of tort reform, doctors are often feel that they're forced to practice defensive medicine, ordering every imaginable test and lab they can, because frankly they're fearful of a lawsuit and they don't want to be guilty of overlooking something, even if they feel it might be redundant or unnecessary. And so because we know that this is a place where a lot of medical overstimulation can occur, we've elected to spend our bullets on more important benefits. Think about it. Some plans have a $50 or $100 X-ray and lab benefit, maybe $150 or $200 for an MRI. Well, that's great. do you know that our non-CUL PPO plan will discount those x-rays and labs 60, 70, even 80%? My son Micah, my youngest of 6 kids, had a lab taken recently. The retail price was $37. The bill we got was $6 and change. Now, I'm not saying this is always typical. What I am saying is that I almost never see one discounted 60, 70, or 80%. Now, which is better to you, an MRI benefit of $200 or a $2,000 MRI being reduced to $350? I think I know the answer. So when we encourage you later to include our non-CUL third-party PPO option, please take advantage of that because it will dramatically reduce your client's exposure. It's like paying wholesale instead of retail. Now, our outpatient sickness, let's talk about doctor visits. When you go to the doctor, there's 3 kinds of visits most folks usually have. You might want to take a note. Sick visits, well visits, and injury or accident visits. A sick visit, I got a fever, I got these purple spots on my neck. What's that about, doctor? I don't feel good. That's a sick visit. Well visits could include routine physicals, checkups, wellness exams, and then accidental injury or injury benefits. Well, this particular benefit we're talking about right now is a sick visit, okay? And we pay 4 of those per adult per year at $100. Now, we do insure the children also if you sell a family plan or a plan with adult and children, but they're considered one category. So for doctor and injury purposes, not hospital, not surgical, but injury purposes, we consider them as one category. So while you and your wife may have 4 doctor visits each, your 3 kids share 4. So if little Johnny uses all 4, then Susie and Billy don't have any. But if you've sold the PPO discount plan, they'll at least get a significant savings off of the cost of those visits. So there's 4 per person per year and 4 among the children to share if you sell a family or children's plan. If you get sick at Friday night at 3 a.m. or Saturday morning at 3 a.m., I guess really, your doctor's not at work at that time. You'll have to go to the ER if you're sick. We actually pay more for that, not less, but that does count as one of your 4 doctor visits. So it'll be $150 a benefit, not $100 a benefit, but it will consume one of your 4 benefits. So that's a very generous benefit. Now, by the way, I said something in passing a moment ago. We don't sell standalone children's plans. There has to be an adult primary insured in the application. Now, our non-CUL PPO option does have a wonderful prescription drug discount card, and there's some great ones out there. Ours is a great one. You'll like it. But we don't include it on the CUL side, nor do we include critical illness, although JR and others may have other options for that, and you can talk to them about those things. What we do have is something that no other guarantee issue plan has, which is private duty nursing. Now, that doesn't mean at home care. That means intensive care or step-down unit, cardiac care. We pay $250 a day for 20 days. Our accidental death and dismemberment benefit, $30,000, is one of the best in the industry. And our accident benefit has actually 4 different components. Actually 5, one isn't listed here, but let's walk through them. First is a specified injury rider. I did something somehow to widen my screen. I don't know what I did, but I'll see if I can adjust to it here. A specified injury rider, the SIR schedule. That is not available in Georgia and maybe not North Carolina. But every other state it is, and it's a scheduled benefit depending on the severity of your injury. If you break a finger, it might pay a few $100s. If you break your thigh bone, your femur, it'll pay $1,800, and that's what the $1,800 is the illustration of one of the biggest claims we pay for an injury. So when you have an accident, you're going to get something from the specified injury rider if you don't live in Georgia, for example. You'll also get one of 4 per accident accidental injury benefits of $200. So whether you break your pinky or your thigh, you're going to get $200. Then you'll get a benefit from the specified injury rider. Typically, there's a surgical schedule that's accompanying that. And then if there's a surgical schedule, usually there's anesthesiology. So in the case of a broken femur, you'll have $1,800 for the broken femur, plus $200 for $2,000. Then in this case, a $2,000 surgical schedule is the schedule reimbursement for a thigh, for a femur repair, and $500 of anesthesiology. That's $4,500, and that assumes you're not spending a night in the hospital at $2,500 a day. My mom had this injury just this past summer, broke the very upper tip of her femur and was in the hospital for a couple of weeks. So you can imagine what the bill would have been and what our benefits would have been in that environment. And of course, our price is $217.63 a month. Now, in a moment, I'm going to go through and flesh out a couple of these benefits. I'm going to get to a comparison grid, and you're going to see how good a price this is for this quality of product. It's a great price. Now, we recommend you sell this plan with a legal pad and a crayon. If you can find one of those, it works fantastically well. Barring that, you could use a document similar to this to work, but we like you to pull out something and walk through the benefits, become so familiar that you know $2,500 days 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, $1,500 day 2, $500 thereafter for up to 365 days, $2,000 a day for 20 days intensive care, surgical schedule, anesthesiology, and just rattle off those benefits. Get these benefits at the tip of your tongue. It's important that you understand the main points of our coverage. Now, this one looks a little odd, we'll admit. Clay, what is up with that funky daily room benefit? That's just kind of weird. I don't understand that. Well, it is kind of strange. It's got some unique features and benefits that make it as rich as it is, but it also makes it a little uneven. I mean, the $1,500 day 2 kind of throws you off, doesn't it? Well, let me explain how we got that number. Because when they opened their policy and when they looked in the brochure, it's going to say $500 a day for daily room. And they're going to say, well, that JR guy, he didn't tell me the truth. He said $2,500. It says only $500 here. Well, let me explain to you how we do it so that when you open the brochure, you know how to explain it properly. You see, the daily room benefit is actually built out of 3 different components. What we refer to colloquially as the daily room is actually 3 things. There is the daily room benefit of $500 a day, and that goes on every day, 365 days, a benefit period. And that actually begins day 1, not day 7. It's part of what comprises our first week of coverage. Then you add to that a one and done indemnity benefit, probably better called a lump sum, but it's called indemnity. It does one thing, one time, per person, per year. It pays $1,000 the first day in the hospital. So day 1 so far, I've got $500 for my daily room, $1,000 for my indemnity benefit, and then it has a third component. This one has a few moving parts. It's a first hospital confinement benefit. It's the only one of its kind in the industry, and it's a wonderful benefit that's very rich and very beneficial for your client. It pays $1,000 days 1 and 2, and $2,000 days 3 through 6. So now when we do the math, we see this. Day 1, $500 for daily room, $1,000 for indemnity, $1,000 for first hospital confinement gives us $2,500. Day 2, $500, no indemnity, the first hospital confinement of $1,000 gives me $1,500. Then day 3, you've got the $500 daily room plus the $2,000 hospital confinement, which is where we say on days 3 through 6 it pays $2,500 a day. So hopefully this will help flesh out how we did the math and how we came up with the benefit. That's a lot to explain in the first pass with your client. So just like I did with you, don't do it. Give them the big picture, which is $2,500 days 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, $1,500 day 2, $500 day 7, 365. And when you then show them the brochure at the end, you can show them, because I'm going to show you, how to point out those 3 separate benefits and explain it to them so they understand how it works. Now, when they get their policy, they may have forgotten that. So tell them, when you get your policy, you're probably going to be confused about the daily room. Please call me. It'll take me 30 seconds to explain it to you. And you can preserve that business. Now, what we have here is a little sketch of all 4 of our plans. I'm going to bring this up to you and show it to you. We're not going to go into the same kind of detail on the other 3 plans, but I do want you to get a visual of those. So let me see if I can make this a little bit larger so you can see a little bit better. We've talked about the Platinum plan. You've got a good picture there. Here is the Gold plan. It's $156 in the states that we have standard coverage. Now again, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, there's a few different variables that makes the price a little different, and when you pull up the application, it will give you the correct pricing. But in the other 23 states, the prices you see here are the same. And the Gold plan is a wonderful plan, $2,100 day 1, $1,400 day 2, and $2,400 days 3 through 6. $400 thereafter. $1,000 intensive care, half of the surgical schedule of $5,000, plus anesthesiology, plus wellness, plus maternity, a $75 doctor visit, $112.50 in the emergency room for sickness, still has private duty nursing, accidental death. It has the full accidental injury benefit, except in those states like Georgia where it doesn't abide, and it's $156.71 a month. Folks, if you go to sell a deep deductible and coinsurance comprehensive major medical plan, you could slide in a gold plan. You could save hundreds of dollars a month on a family coverage by raising the deductible to $10,000, $15,000, and you know what? If they have a catastrophic event, they still have deep coverage. But slide in a gold plan or slide in a silver plan, and now you've done what's going to help your client the most. You've covered them with affordable, fairly flatline priced plans that will help perhaps cover even more than your deductible and coinsurance, and even actually pay them to be out of work while they're recuperating a little bit. The silver plan is phenomenal. $1,200 days 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, $700 day 2, $200 thereafter. Still has intensive care, surgery, wellness, maternity, doctor visits, and accidents. It's $85 a month, folks. For $85 a month, you know, a waitress, a waiter, someone working at a hotel, a light manufacturing environment where people make $8, $10, $12, $14 an hour, they can afford health insurance now on a guaranteed renewable policy that's just for them. Or, conversely, like I just said, selling a very high deductible plan and sliding this in. The last plan is probably the best value of any health product in America. It's the HSA supplement. It doesn't seem like much at first gasp. And by the way, you don't have to have an HSA plan to buy this. You don't have to have any plan to buy this. We call it HSA supplement because if you do happen to have an HSA plan, and if you do happen to contribute to a savings account for the tax deduction, this plan coordinates with IRS code 223 so that if you both save in the savings account but also have a claim, you will not lose your tax deductible availability on your savings account. This little plan will pay about $5,700 for 6 days in the hospital. It's $30 a month. If some of those days are maternity, well, just lost that page. If some of those days are maternity, it'll pay. It still has the accidental injury rider in the states that we offer that in, and it's $30.06 a month for an individual, about $74 for a family. It's a significant value. And whether you sell an HSA or a copay or a hospital surgical or any kind of plan or no plan at all, that ought to be included in every single sale you make. Like I said earlier, if you're not selling one of these plans, every time you sell a health plan, you're not doing your customer any favors. You need to include our plans every single time because the benefits are that strong, that good, the value is that significant, and the prices are right. That's a brief look at all four of our plans. Now, let me back up a little bit and talk about our comparisons with other wonderful companies that we compete with. I think you'll like how we compete. Here is a comparison grid number 1, comparison grid number 2. Doesn't really matter which one I show you first. They're all good companies marketed by good people. This one happens to be the Team Core product, Core Value, eHealth Star, GetMed 360. I'm going to show you another page of the tumor plans. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I just want you to get a sense of how we compete and compare. Again, here's our first choice platinum plan in the left-hand column. We're $217.63 a month. For example, the Team Core is $2,000 a day or $2,000 a day intensive care, not both. So real quick, we're differentiating ourselves with the depth of coverage. Yes, they do pay $2,000 a day longer than we do, but we cover our coverage 365 days, and we pay in addition if they go to intensive care. I think if you have a heart attack, we're going to be much better for you. In the case of surgery, and other plans utilize this tool, the Medicare reimbursement model, they're paying 100% of Medicare. And I'm going to table that one and come back to it in a little bit. And of course, you can see that they have some other benefits that are nice, wonderful benefits, and the price for their best plan is $370 a month. All these plans probably always have enrollment fee or application fees. We do not. No application fee, no enrollment fee, no monthly admin fee. Some of the plans pay $1,000 a day. Some of the plans have a max on their surgical schedule. Ours is unlimited. We pay as many surgical procedures as required medically. whether you're inpatient or outpatient. It's very, very common to see who pay one inpatient, one outpatient, or two per person per year, or one per year. You know, if your son or daughter sticks a lima bean up their left nostril and the doctor takes tweezers and pulls it out, he writes down a surgical code and you just use your outpatient surgical procedure for the year with some of these plans, it's true. So we have unlimited surgical benefits. As long as it's medically necessary, it's covered. So it isn't just the dollars we pay, it's the fact that we paid unlimited times that really makes a difference. And of course, you can see the price differentiations. Other good plans, Medova, Integra, Health Option 1. I mean, think about what we're saying here. Medova's a nice little plan, $1,000 a day plus $1,000 for intensive care. But look at the surgical schedule. If you can read that microfiche, it says $2,500 max schedule for inpatient, $1,500 max outpatient. That's nothing. Again, why do you buy a guaranteed issue plan? Usually because you can't afford or qualify for a major medical. Surprise, surprise, if you have a heart attack, you're going to be in trouble because the most it's going to pay is $2,500 and then 25% of that for the anesthesiologist. Over here, home and health care is a wonderful little plan. For $400 a month, $399 plus schedule $7 for inpatient. They may have some nice features below the line, but again, these top four are the most important ones. And if they lose there, it doesn't help your client. And of course, the price differentiation is very distinct, very dramatic. Now, I've raised an issue. Let me address it a little bit. I've talked about the Medicare reimbursement model, and some of the plans use that. In fact, some of the underwritten plans are using that model now. And so to help you, on our website, we've included our surgical schedule. And let's just take a couple of minutes and talk about that because it's a major point of selling difference that you need to understand. Our Surgical Plus rider is the first thing we list on our plan riders. If you click that link, you can open up and see exactly what we pay for our surgeries. Now, in the Platinum plan, our surgical maximum is $10,000. And so when you see the phrase surgical schedule, it means of the $10,000 max, how much does this plan pay for each kind of claim? So when you open this page up and slide down some. So let's open the page and look at heart. For coronary bypass, valvoplasty, we're paying 100% of the surgical maximum. In the case of the Platinum plan, our surgical maximum is $10,000. What's 100% of $10,000? $10,000. In the case of the Gold plan, the surgical max is $5,000. So what's 100% of $5,000? $5,000. Down here, angioplasty, 50%. So if we're talking the Platinum plan, 50% of $10,000 is $5,000. And then, in addition, we're paying 25% in the case of angioplasty, $1,250. In the case of bypass, 25% of $10,000 is $2,500. Now back up for a second to these comparison grids. And I don't mean to pick on any particular plan, but one of the plans we talked about was the Medova plan and the Homeland Health Care plan. And those are easy to pick on, but look at the surgical benefit. For the maximum benefit, they're going to pay us $2,500 or $2,000. Now, we're paying $10,000 for a bypass. The most they'll pay is $2,500. Folks, on a heart bypass, we're paying $2,500 for the anesthesiologist. Do you get that? We're paying $12,500. They're paying $3,000, $2,500 plus a little over $5,000, $625, so $3,125 for their surgical and anesthesiology benefit. We're paying almost 4 times as much. Now, if you understand what the Medicare reimbursement is, and let me just open up a page back in the PowerPoint to help flesh that out. Some companies use the RBRVS, the Resource-Based Relative Value Scale. We refer to it colloquially as the Medicare reimbursement model. And even wonderful companies like Assurant and their Health Access plan and other plans use this kind of model. And even though that plan is an underwritten plan and is a certificate and has had rate increases, they use the Medicare model as well as several guaranteed issue plans. Well, that sounds great. 100%, that sounds fantastic. 100% of Medicare, that must be more than what you pay, Clay. No, it's not. An example, and they use different categories of coverage. They have to nail down a specific amount. So someone said the 2009 Arizona or the Chicago-based Medicare reimbursement for the year 2000 so-and-so. We did a survey. One of our marketing partners, Fred from Boston, did a survey and realized that in Tampa, Florida, which I think you'd agree is not the most expensive, but also not the least expensive place to have a heart surgery. We like to think of Tampa as God's waiting room. In Tampa, Florida, the reimbursement on a Medicare scale for a 3 bypass is just under, get this, $2,400. Now, because RBRVS does not include the assistant surgeon, the operating room, the suture kit. It's just for the surgeon. The surgeon's reimbursement is $2,300 and change. Folks, we're paying $2,500 to the anesthesiologist. Especially when you look at a health access plan, they're only paying a couple $100 for the anesthesiology. They're paying just about what we're paying for the anesthesiologist for the whole package. We're paying $12,500 for the same thing. So if you're looking at a plan that uses a Medicare reimbursement, clap your hands together, call your wife and say, honey, we're going out to eat tonight. I found another one. And you'll make the sale. Here's the kicker. You want to make some closes, get the policy in front of you. By the way, when I go on a sale, when I get a chance to do so, I don't give a quote unless I see what they have, because they don't know what they have. They think they do. They may not mean to lie to you and say they know what they have when they really don't, but they'll usually say, oh, I know what I got, and they don't have a clue what they got. This applies whether you're selling major medical or limited plans. So when I go on an appointment, if they don't have a plan in front of them, a policy that I can see, I say, are you free tomorrow at the same time? I'll come back. Go get your policy. Let's try it again. I might tease them with benefits. I might tease them with a deep descriptive coverage of what we do, but I don't give them a price, because once I give them a price, if I'm a nickel less, they'll say, you know, I think I like what I have. So I don't tell them. So I just encourage you, understand what you have, what you're competing with, know your enemy, know your competition, and you'll be in great shape. Now, I mentioned to you, we're going to look at some things. We've talked about the plans. We've talked about the riders, the surgical coverage. Let me take you now to some claims illustration after I go to a contract. So let's pull up an application. I'm going to pull up just my state, for example, the state of South Carolina, and walk you through. Now, if you do an online process, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, it'll have basically all the same data. It'll look a little different, but it'll be there. Let me take a quick second and walk you through this, because there's a few key parts that if you miss, you're not going to do well. Of course, it tells you where to send it, who it's for, and who wrote it, and you can get all that part straight. There's a couple things here. It does ask for employer and occupation and income. Don't just put self-employed and leave the rest blank. They'll send it back to you. So if you're self-employed, that's fine. What's the name of your company? I don't have one. Then you can put self-employed, but at least put what you do. Are you a plumber? Are you a computer tech? Are you sales? Tell what you do and list a monthly income that's at least minimum wage. The next area you don't have to fill out. In fact, you should not fill out where it says insurance plans. We have a premium calculation worksheet at the end of this application that we'll use for identifying what you're purchasing and how much it costs. Don't use this. Do fill out the health questions. It has health questions. Will any of them cause you to be declined? No. So the first question is, do you have HIV/AIDS? It doesn't matter to us. We're going to cover them anyway. We're just asking to know what the pre-existing conditions might be. So in question 2, even though the question goes back 4 years, because this app is borrowed from a work site environment, answer it. If you need a separate page, fill out a separate page, and both of you sign it and date it, and give us the entire medical history as required by the nature of the question. The worst case scenario is a 1-year pre-ex. And then move on through. The next page is where they sign, and any dependents 15 or over sign, and where you put the bank information for bank draft authorization. It will draft when it's approved. So fill out the bank information, let them know it could draft immediately, and send it in. We don't yet have a visa portal. We're working on that right now, but hopefully will come soon. But if you write a paper app, you can send a paper check, but you could also put a void and draft upon issue. The next two pages are called underwriting authorizations. They look identical, but they are not. One is for Manhattan Life, one is for CUL. Fill them out, sign them. Dependents 15 years or older must sign them as well. Now, this page is really important, the BMC Consumer Understanding section. You know, we've been selling guaranteed issue plans for years, tens of thousands. And part of the concern is that, well, if I sell a limited plan, what if someone sues me? I've heard of folks getting sued. Well, maybe you've heard of folks getting sued because they misrepresented the product. They sold it as if it were a major medical when it's not. Maybe they were sued because the client misunderstood something. You know what this page does? It erases any question. It makes them clarify. I know I'm buying a plan with limitations, with waiting periods, things that are excluded. I know that I'm committing to you that I do work 30 hours a week, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It notifies the pre-ex, the work requirement, that they told the truth in the application. And you'll see that in the application later, we have two non-guaranteed products that we're offering coverage for, the cancer and accident, additional accident plan, and it's known that they know that those are not guaranteed. Because we've had this form, we've had calls from 2 lawyers in 9 years. When we sent this form back to them, we never heard back from them. So I know some of you have been concerned in the past about concerns over selling limited plans. Remember, our philosophy is you shouldn't be selling it if they qualify for a major medical as their primary coverage. So we just left half of the competition behind because some folks sell it because it pays lots of money. We sell it because it's the appropriate sale. We're glad that it pays lots of money. But secondly, people can misunderstand. Perhaps they've talked to 5 major medical agents in the last week, and even though they bought yours and you sold it properly, when they made a claim, it didn't pay as a major medical would have, and now they're upset because they honestly, truly are mistaken thinking that you're somebody else. And they got your message confused with the guy who tried to sell them the major medical. But this takes away that risk because they are affirming here at the point of application they know what they're doing, what they're buying. Let me take a quick question. I've got a few questions listed on the control panel here. Let me take a second and address those. One person asks about state availability. Again, on the website and on the first or second or so page of this webinar, we did affirm the 27 states that we're in. One person asked specifically about Kansas. No. Kansas does not apparently think that folks who can't afford or qualify for major medical should have anything, so we have nothing. So they've made it basically impossible to file a product like this and get it approved, so we have it. Missouri, though, we are in. Someone asked about Missouri, and again, you can check the state listings by going to the website, and you'll see the application forms there. It is not in Minnesota, and Laura, I've discouraged her because I haven't been answering her questions. I'll check some more questions later on, and I apologize, Laura, for not seeing yours earlier. All right, here's the premium calculation worksheet. So JR is going to drive to South Carolina and he's going to sell Clay a policy because while Clay's been talking to agents and marketers all across the country, he hasn't slowed down enough to buy himself his own plan. But JR is a really great salesman. So he's going to drive to South Carolina. He's going to sell Clay. He's going to mark the box myself a policy because I'm purchasing it just for myself. And he sold me the Platinum plan, which in my state, and this is a state-specific rate calculation worksheet, is $217.63. If that's all I want, I would write $217.63 because that would be my total monthly premium. There is no application fee, no enrollment fee, no monthly admin fee, and I'm done. Now, perhaps I might want to cover myself and my 6 kids. My wife works at a Christian school, and let's say her coverage was covered there, but I couldn't afford the $1,300 a month to cover me and my 6 kids. I could buy the Platinum plan for myself and children, check that box, and I'd circle $350, $341. And that's all I wanted to buy. I drop that number down, and off I go. And you get paid commission. JR would get paid commission on that entire premium. Let's say that I was a hard-working single mom with 2 kids, and I couldn't afford the Platinum for $353, but I could afford the Gold for myself and children for $255. And this gives you the rates on all the plans. Maybe I bought a $15,000 deductible 80/20 plan, and I wanted the HSA supplement to cover me because it had that wonderful daily hospital and the accidental injury coverage for $74.36 for my entire family. Even though my wife has a group plan and I'm on an individual plan with a high deductible, for $75 I could cover lots and lots of exposure. Well, those are the kinds of options you'll see here on the premium calculation worksheet. And this clarifies to you and to the client and to the home office what you sold, what they bought, and what you want to get paid on. Now you see these two blocks here, the optional accident, optional cancer. Those are not guaranteed issues. That's not the accident coverage that we refer to inside the first choice plan. This is an additional coverage, which I'll show you on JR's website in a second. This is an optional cancer. The accident has a few occupations they don't want to insure. They don't want to insure rodeo clowns. They probably don't want to insure folks who live in high-risk occupations. Also, the cancer has one question, which if you answer yes to, you'll be declined. If you had internal cancer or melanoma in the last 10 years, if you say yes, you're not going to get that policy. So if I can say no and I want those other two things, well, for $29.88, I could add that to my coverage, tally down the math, and I'm done. Or maybe I want for my wife, for myself and my children. For $32.15, I could insert it over here in the employee children bracket, bring the math down. You see, because our rates are so cheap, I could add these two benefits and still be right about $260 or so, $270 a month, and give the folks a tremendous value. Now, because those two benefits, whether you sell the accident, the cancer, or both, have conditions and questions, we've included on the same application the cancer and accident application. If you don't need it, you can chuck it, throw it away. But if you need it, it's there. And I want to really encourage you to combo your way to prosperity. The prices are so good, the benefits are so great, you ought to sell them. The last thing is the MC Square PPO plan. Now, I've got a color version. I'm going to show you where it is on JR's website. This is the black and white version you print out. This is just health-related benefits. We use the Galaxy Network, about 300,000 providers in the Galaxy Network. And most important, we have a wonderful patient advocacy plan called the CARIS Group. You pull that slide up and point that out to you. It's $29.95 a month with a $10 app fee, but it includes the Galaxy PPO network with about 300,000 providers and the CARIS patient advocacy that has no network limitation. We don't know of a single hospital that doesn't take the CARIS patient advocacy benefit. Now, here's the thing. When you sell CUL First Choice, sell it as an any doctor, any hospital plan, because we will not pay less if you don't go to our network. You know why? CUL doesn't have a network. This is a third-party product, the MC Square PPO, and if you have a different one, use that one. That's fine. We like ours because it has the CARIS benefit that makes it really powerful. But if you have a better one, that's fine. But what you shouldn't do is say, well, you like the plan, you like the price, we've taken the application, let's see if your doctor's in our network. Well, you just killed yourself, because chances are he's not. 300,000 sounds like a lot of doctors to you, but when you realize there are almost 2 million providers in America, it isn't a whole lot. So the chances are your doctor's not in our network. So we pay $100 no matter who you go to. What they really should be concerned about is if they need to have labs, tests, surgery, hospitalization. At that point, they want to make sure they go to the network hospital. Now, the CARIS Group is so great in that if they have to go to a non-network or a network hospital, they're going to come in after the fact. Whatever PPO discount you did or didn't get, if the bill remaining is $2,500 or more, the CARIS Advocacy Group is going to come in after the fact and save another, typically 30% on that bill. They're like a bunch of termites chewing away at that cost. If you can engage CARIS before the claim, they will typically save 60%. So we really encourage the selling of the MC Square PPO product using the Galaxy Network and the CARIS patient advocacy benefit because it helps your clients buy wholesale, not retail. And here's the MC Square application. You are the sponsor, sponsor name, sponsor email address, so you can get paid. And Visa or check, MasterCard, doesn't matter. They sign it and date it. And that's included in the application process. Now, before I go to claims illustrations, let me let you know again, you can ask questions, so type those in. At certain points, I'll stop and take those questions and go through them. But let me give you a few things about the process. And we're on the downhill slide, but I haven't shown you probably the two of the most important things, the claims illustration and the brochure. So hang with me a few more minutes. Let me get to that, and then we'll finish and answer any questions. When you submit your appointment paperwork, it will take 2 or 3 weeks. Please understand that. It's not very fast. You should know this now. So don't be disappointed. It's what it's going to take. They do the most thorough background you've ever seen. You could be in the CIA when you finish. You may submit business and contracting simultaneously. However, you need to make sure that your background is clean. If there's criminal history, if there are vectors. Now, vectors means you owe other insurance companies money. Then you shouldn't submit business with your contract. You should submit your contract and get a writing number because you may not be approved. Secondly, it's going to delay your first payroll because when they might issue it next Tuesday and pay you a bank draft 6-month advance upon issue, if they don't have a writing number yet, they can't pay you yet. So that will delay your first payment, if you do it that way. But you may do it that way. So some of you are really excited because you've finally seen the plan you like. You want to go sell it. You can. Go ahead and fax in your contract and go write something today. That's fantastic. If you know you have background issues, you should wait and get appointed first just to be safe. Listen, you must enforce the 30-hour work rule. It's the only rule we have, okay? So enforce that. If they don't meet that qualification, don't wink and nod. Pull up the next best plan. We're all about that. We know we won't get all your business. We just want most of it. We've begun the online application process already. If you submit a paper app, it does take a while for it to populate in the website. Online apps populate within 24 hours. Now, philosophically, we want you to know where we're coming from. We don't want to just be your GI plan for those who can barely fog a mirror. That's not what we want to be. We want to be your low price plan, and we should be included in every sale you make, whether we're the primary plan because they couldn't afford or qualify for major medical, or we're a supplemental plan to reduce your client's out-of-pocket premium and give them some coverage until they meet their deductible. Did you know that 75% of our applications are healthy? They're from healthy folks who could have qualified, but maybe they couldn't afford it or some other thing, or they were adding us on as an add-on to a major medical sale. But please also know that every app you submit is monitored. They know what you write personally. Someone is writing it down. His name is Todd. He's the Vice President of Marketing. He knows what you're writing. So if you're standing outside the OBGYN clinic taking applications, he's going to know that. And your relationship will not be very long and prosperous with us. If you're standing outside the kidney dialysis or going to the group meetings for Diabetes Association, it's not going to last long. We don't want just your dead and dying. We don't want just women ages 20 to 30 that will drop it in 11 months after they have their baby. That will cause a very short-term relationship. We don't want that. Don't advertise this as the best maternity plan in America. Now, we might be, but don't advertise it that way. That'll bring down heat upon your head. We don't want that. If you're going to do some marketing, we encourage it, but you need to run it through JR and through us to make sure you're compliant so we don't have a problem. We don't want to create any problems. We want to avoid them if we can. We're now in 20 states. Like I mentioned earlier, 24 state apps are now available online. We hope to have all of them in the next week or so. And we really encourage you to combo or upsell the cancer, the accident, the critical illness, and disability benefits. That's a great way to increase your income. Once you're given a writing number, you can use that writing number as the login or your ID on the company website, CULINS.com. Your last name is your password. You can change your password once you log on. And you can view all of the other CUL products and see your commissions and all those things online if you are paid directly. If you're a manager, you can see hierarchy and all those things as well. It does take a few weeks for a number to be assigned, so be patient about that. Now, on the website, again, you can see all the available document downloads. You can order supplies. Again, if you submit a paper app, it does take a few extra days to get appointed. Now, if you need first choice supplies, that comes off of ppisales.info/CULAHIB, which is our site. When you go to his site, here is each state's application. Here's the brochure, LINS. you'll find us on the AHIV side. So please know that your first choice supplies do not come from the home office. They come from JR's side. The online apps are ready now. To do that, back on his website, click here to get a one-page form to apply to be able to write business online. You can only do this when you have a writing number. So you've got to wait till you get a writing number, but once you do, click here, fill out this form, fax it in. When they receive that, they'll send you a new password and login unique to the ACE online app process. When you finish that brief little review of how to do the process, you'll then be able to sign up folks online, and not just for the first choice GI plan, but for their other products as well. Now, we're at the end of the show. We bring up a claims illustration and then go to the brochure, then show you, then answer any questions you may have. So here's a claims illustration. This is really helpful to put all the pieces together so you feel like you really have a good grasp. So when we go to the claims illustration, we're assuming that you're selling the MC square PPO because that's the right thing to do. Your client needs to have a repricing tool. Now, when you sell the product, our platinum product, for $217, and you add $30, you're at $247. If you add the cancer, if you add the accident, you're still under $300. You're still cheaper than all the competition, but now you've sold 4 products: the platinum, the MC square, the cancer, and the accident in addition. You're cheaper than all the competition, but you have all these things popped on. Now, our assumptions are that, hold on one quick second. I've got a note here I've got to respond to real fast. I apologize. Okay, our assumptions are that when these claims include the use of the PPO, and when so, it discounts the bill about 30%. If you bring in the CARES after the fact, it will save another 30%. Sometimes you can engage the CARES before the fact. Maybe you can call CARES in advance and say, listen, I got to go to this doctor, I'm going to do some heart events. Would you negotiate? I'm going to have this hip replacement. I've got to have this carotid artery cleared. I've got to have a knee job. You can call in advance. And on those illustrations, we've assumed a 60% discount. So PPO first, CARES second, 30 and 30 discount, or CARES first, about a 60% discount. And these are actual claims paid through the network and through CARES. Let's look at a heart bypass. We're not going to lowball the price. We're assuming a $78,000 bill. Now, some of you in Oklahoma, there's a world-class facility there that will do it for under $20,000. Congratulations, you're going to walk away with money in your pocket. But we've chosen to not lowball the price, but give you authentic actual prices for this process. Here's a 6-day confinement, 3 days of intensive care, with PPO repricing, with CARES coming in after the fact. So 78 with 30% discount for the PPO then becomes 54.6. Instead of buying retail, let's buy it on sale. Here's what we pay. 6 days in the hospital, $14,000. Compare that with everybody else and see how we do. You're liking us, aren't you? 3 days intensive care, another $6,000. 3 days private duty nursing, which no one has, $250 a day, $750. Surgical schedule, $10,000. We beat the team. Anesthesiology, another $2,500. We're paying $33,250. Find me another guarantee issue plan that pays that much, and I'll buy your lunch. It's not there. So the client owes $21,350. Bring in CARES after the fact. We're going to use a conservative 30% reduction. Now you owe about $15,000. Hey, by the way, the plan I have on my family is a $10,000 deductible plan. How much would I pay? $10,000. How much would this cost? $15,000. Not the worst situation to be in because, A, you got the surgery. You know, when you go to the ER, they have to paddle you back to life. But surgery is admission, and you've got to have a means to pay. If you're not on Medicare, Medicaid, have a means to pay with assets, credit card, signing over your business or your house, guess what doesn't happen? The 5 bypass surgery. You may think I'm lying to you. I'm not. This gets the surgery done. Yes, you owe $300 a month for a few years with no interest and no damage to your credit. Make a deal with the hospital. They'll do it. They'll give you a no interest repayment plan, and if you keep it, they'll never charge you a penny of interest. They'll never ding your credit. but you got the surgery. Here's situation two. If by the grace of God you're allowed to get involved with CARES before the event, that $78,000 becomes $31,200. The same benefits, the same payments, you walk out of the hospital with $2,000 in your pocket. Now, should you expect that? No, but it could happen. What you'll find is that you're somewhere in between $14,945 and $2,000 in your pocket. So $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 out of pocket. Hey, that's less than I would pay on mine. So that's where real life is going to be. We also showed some illustrations of inpatient gallbladder. You come out with $3,400 in your pocket. Or outpatient, you owe $2,760. We show normal and C-section child delivery. Now, because you know 9 months in advance, I don't know why you wouldn't get CARES involved. And so you should always come out looking pretty good. And here's the thing about our plan. There is no pre-authorization. There is no utilization review. The insurance company doesn't know to 2 or 3 weeks after the event. So if the doctor and mama think that 24 hours and 13 minutes is not enough time, you can stay 2 days or 3 days, and we'll pay the daily benefit for those days while you're in the hospital. Actually, this claim I made a mistake. We only showed 2 days of payment because it says 3 up here, but we did the math and only did 2 days. I apologize for that. But either way, you still come out with money in your pocket. Now, we don't mean for it to be a money-making venture for you. What I'm saying is the use of CARES is powerful. You need to have that. You need to sell the MC square because that helps your clients. Again, don't sell it as our network, let's check to see if your doctor's there. Sell it as this is a great tool that will help you get all your benefits repriced if you choose to use it. Now here's the brochure, and this is where we'll conclude and answer some questions. Let's look at this page. This is a summary of the entire process. I'm going to spread that page out a little bit, make it easy to read. Our Platinum plan is in the far right corner. What's the first thing you see when you read the top of this page? Well, that our daily room benefit is not $2,500, it's only $500, so I've been lying to you the last hour and a half. No, but if you start with this benefit, if you start with the brochure, your client's going to lock in on $500 and never let go. That's why we tell you, use a crayon and a legal pad, it works better. At the end, you can come back and explain those 3 benefits, Mrs. and Mrs. Jones, and the $2,500 is comprised of 3 different benefits. The $500 a day, plus a one-time indemnity of $1,000, plus a first hospital confinement, which pays $10,000 over 6 days, $1,000 days 1 and 2, and $2,000 days 3 through 6. Then you can do the math and show them how that benefit works over 6 days. Does that make sense? That's why we use the brochure last. And you can go through the benefits listed here. By the way, you'll notice I didn't even mention the $200 a day additional injury benefit in the hospital. For as long as you're in the hospital for an injury, additional $200 a day. Like I said, I didn't mention all the benefits. That's a neat one. But again, you don't see wellness and maternity. Those are on the surgical schedule. You'll see all these benefits here, and you'll see the prices below. For the Platinum plan, $217.63. Single doesn't mean single as in not married. It means single applicant. Single with spouse, single with children, $353.41. That's a great value. Likewise, the Gold plan. We've already talked about it in brief. You should look at it in more detail. The prices are phenomenal, especially for dependent coverage, spouse and children. $255.42 is a killer rate. Our Silver plan will probably be the plan we sell most in worksite environments and with folks who buy high deductible plans. $85 a month is phenomenal. A mom and 2 kids, 3 kids for $140.43 is phenomenal. Our HSA supplement, remember you don't have to have an HSA plan, but if you did, this plan would coordinate with IRS code 223. It'll pay about $5,700 for a week in the hospital. It includes accident in all the states that we have accident, which does not include Georgia. It still has emergency accident benefit. It's $30 for an individual, $74.36 for a family. It's a great benefit. Let me handle your questions in the final remaining moments. You have a place here to type in questions. Let's do that real quick, and we'll be finished in just a moment. This product is being filed in several states, Illinois among those and several others. You'll never see us in the far northeast, the far northwest. We are filed in Florida. Florida takes years. I mean, the Assurant Health Access Plan took 5 years. So we hope to be in several more western states, but we're not yet, except in those 27 states. And as soon as we get that update, here's how you'll know when we've added a state. Go to JR's website, ppsales.info/CULAHIV, and you can see all the states that are approved because we have all the applications in those states. Okay? And that'll be a good way to remember where we're at, how we're covering. Any last questions? Folks, the income potential is phenomenal. Let me give you one thing about marketing before we go, and we'll stop with this unless you have a question. Groups are falling apart. They can't meet participation. The rates are going up. Employers are saying, boss, I can't afford it. And when they tip under 75% participation, the group collapses. Other groups are not going to fall apart, but nobody can afford dependent coverage. Sitting 23 feet from my desk is my contracting manager, Terry. Her husband's insurance is free. For her to cover herself and two boys is $1,200 a month. People can't afford that. And thirdly, some groups can never coagulate, and that's why in my state of South Carolina, 60% of small employers don't have group insurance. They've tried it, they've looked at it, the prices are so high, they can't get 75% participation. You can walk in those environments and fish with a net, not with a pole. We have list billing capacity, and you can go in there and write 5, 10, 15 apps at a time. So, so we encourage you to do that. Two more things. We've included on this second page a description of our accident and cancer. It's all there. Our cancer plan, there are 4 of them. This is just the A plan. We have A, B, C, D, and when you start writing online, you'll be able to sell whichever one you prefer. In our pricing of our application, we only include the base plan, but even our base plan includes what most plans don't cover, radiation and chemotherapy, $2,500 a month. So please add it on. It's a great benefit. In fact, it's not just a cancer plan, it's a dread disease. It includes about 30 other conditions that are included as well in the policy. Now, if they have one of these conditions, it will not cause them to be declined, but those specific conditions, for example, if they have TB, they won't not get issued the cancer plan. They will be. It'll just exclude TB. So it's actually more than just a cancer policy. It includes something most plans don't include, radiation and chemotherapy. And if you want to see all 4 of the plans, go back to the home page, ppsales.info/CULAHIV, and click here for additional CUL products, and you'll see a wider perspective of the other plans that you can add when you start selling online, or if you decide to order supplies and sell that. And it's a wonderful combo sale. And you can see not just Plan A, which is featured on our application, and the accidental injury option 1, but you can see the other options that are available, up to $7,500 a month for chemo. Nobody does that. So you can see all those other things also. Someone asked a question. Let me see if I can get to it here. Does the daily room benefit go directly to the client instead of the hospital or doctor's or office? Remember, our daily room benefit, our surgical benefits are probably going to have to be assigned to the doctor and hospital unless you have a major medical plan. If you come in with no coverage but ours, the hospital is probably not going to give you service until you assign benefits. If you have a major medical, assign those. Don't assign ours. File your claim. We'll reimburse whatever we reimburse because we're a defined benefit plan. If you owe the hospital $8,000 and we pay you $12,000, pay the hospital the $8,000 that you owe them and pocket the $4,000. We're good with that. That's legal, moral, ethical. This is an indemnity plan. It pays you or who you assign to. Again, you can choose to assign a benefit to a doctor's office, or you can pay and let us reimburse you. In a hospital environment, though, unless you have other coverage, primary coverage, they're going to require you to assign benefits. Other than that, we don't care. We'll pay whoever submits the bill. There is no enrollment, application, administration fee on CUL. On the MC Square, the $10 fee cannot be waived. But you do get paid commission on the MC2, I don't know if I said that right, the MC2, the MC Square benefit does pay a level small, but a level commission. It does have a $10 app fee. Sorry, I can't do anything with that one. That's a good question. The online application, there's actually a webinar for that. That's a great question. If you go to JR's website, here you'll see the online application enrollment. When you click on that, just as you can click on the training we're doing now, a box will pop up. It takes about 30 seconds or so to load. And when it does, when you see that arrow come to life on your page, you can click it. It'll begin the final download. Turn up the volume on your computer, and it will play the online application class. It takes, again, about 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds to upload, and bang, off you go. If you turn up the volume, thanks so much for joining us today, then you can hear that, that online application training. You can see it and walk through that. So once you submit, once you get a writing number and submit the form on page 2, click here for brochures and click here to set up your online enrollment. They'll send you an email with a separate login and password. Then you can do the ACE enrollment training, which is a brief pages just to read through, and then you could watch our version of that, our audio-video version of that, and you can write it online at that point. Now, I have to apologize. There's about a 3-minute technical glitch in the about 10 minutes into the deal, it looks like, and that has a little error, so that's a beta version. But if you can struggle through for about 3 minutes of uncertainty, it's all there. And it'll show you hands-on, practical, live experience how to do that, and you'll like it. It's very, very simple to do. That's a great question. Any final questions before we go? Let me just see here real quick. Great. Well, folks, it's been great to have you. J.R. Vaughn really appreciates your joining us today. This website